Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And we're over 100 episodes into this shindig now, and the intro music still pumps me up every time. I love it. It's awesome. We are super excited tonight because we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Reed Carringer with us this evening. Welcome, Reed.
More myth than legend, I think, at this point in my life. Good to be with y'all as always.
Hey, we love having you with us. And you will notice Reed has his 49ers apparel on right now because this is dedication right here. I mean, he's a lifelong 49ers fan, and he's joining us even while they're playing. So we were just talking before we went live about Juwan's awesome catch. I believe is it still tied right now?
Yeah, it's tied up.
So, Reed, important question. Are you able to see what's happening right now, or do we need to not give updates?
I don't have it. I've got it. I'm getting updates, but not. I don't have it on getting updates though.
Okay.
So don't. If something happens, good or bad, it's okay. You'll see it probably on my face, but I'll try to not let it affect me too much. I've seen a lot. I mean, covering Tennessee and being a Tennessee fan for a long time, my soul, my emotions, they are weathered and calloused beyond repair at this point. So I think I will be able to manage whatever heartbreak is coming at this point for me.
I love it. We just expect it now, right? Like we just expect it.
That's right. There's nothing that can happen that will harm me further.
Hey, hopefully nobody falls on a helmet, right? Hopefully nobody will fall on a helmet.
For that to happen.
Well, we had a good day yesterday as Vol fans. Tennessee basketball kind of defied the curse. I don't know what you want to call it. They 1-5, I think it was, going into yesterday against Vanderbilt or something like that. And SEC teams, there we go. SEC teams as a whole, I think this season on the road, top 10 teams or something like that were 17-24 or something like that. It was crazy.
No.
Against unranked teams.
Yes. All of the AP top 10 against unranked teams this year are 17-24 on the road. So since I gave you that stat 2 days ago, I've been tracking since. It's now 20-26. So Tennessee very much defied the odds this weekend because in the last 48 hours, the AP top 10 went 3-2 against unranked opponents on the road.
Wow.
So it's a good day. A good thing the Vols got out of there with a W for sure. Reed, what was now this is really Reed's wheelhouse here. He's a huge basketball fan, loves obviously the football Vols as well. I'll just combine foot Vols, I think is what I just said.
Vols.
There we go.
Great market.
Yeah. So Reed is very much a basketball fan as well. So Reed, what were your takeaways from what you saw yesterday?
Well, that was one of them. It's just so hard to win on the road in the SEC or otherwise. Apparently this year around the nation, it's so tough to win on the road. I remember covering a lot of good teams and growing up watching some really good Tennessee teams that they would go to Ole Miss, a team that did make the NCAA tournament and get beat. They'd go to Georgia and get beat. Just kind of par for the course is you win your home games, you win 1 or 2 on the road. That's good enough to be competitive in the league. It's a hard league anyway to win on the road in hoops, and has been even before it got this good. The SEC in hoops has really taken some steps up these last few years. So I expected that to be a tough game. Just the way that Vanderbilt plays Tennessee, it's almost like the swamp in football. When Tennessee is favored, good things do not happen there. And you saw that, the first half of that game, you thought, oh no, here we go again. Or at least I did. I thought, here we go again. Yep. The Vandy curse here for the Vols and hoops. And really after that, there was a lot to kind of break down there. But the biggest takeaway for me was kind of broke sort of a curse there, in my opinion, of Tennessee being highly ranked, going in and getting beat. It's one of those games where you got South Carolina, who's really good, coming up. Then you go to Kentucky, sort of a trap game in the schedule. It's not one you wanted to lose not having a midweek game. It's one you kind of need to win if you want to win the SEC. If you've got that midweek game off, you're fresh, you should win that road game. So it's one they really had to have if that's a team that hopes to be a number 1 seed, at worst a 2 seed, and hopes to compete for an SEC title. And I thought, they got the job done. So no complaints for me, even despite the rocky start.
Totally agree. Rustin, what were your takeaways from yesterday?
Similar to Reed, watching that first half, it was like, oh no, here we go. It's Memorial. Nobody can shoot in this place. I thought Jonas really struggled in the first half, and that concerned me more than anything. It's a weird place to play. It's a weird place to shoot. There's no depth perception. It was awesome to see guys toward the end of the first half start figuring it out, and then the second half just absolutely bury everything. Jordan Gainey was a huge boost. I think the biggest thing stood out to me was in the second half, we never really looked concerned. Like, we walked out of the locker room in the second half and we looked like, all right, we're just going to go win now. And that's the mark of a really veteran, really good team. Like, they had no worries about what happened in the first half. They just walked out there and waxed them. And that was really impressive. They were running their stuff well. Santi did an amazing job in the second half. He was so good. It was fun to watch them just say, okay, we're going to execute now, and just absolutely put the hammer down on them.
Outscored them, I believe, 45-27 in the second half. I think that's correct.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's a nice way to come out of the locker room. My initial takeaways are Dalton Knecht is legit. He
Who?
is, yeah.
The White Mamba?
Yeah, yeah, that was good. That was a nice little post-game interview there in the hallway with Estrella asking him, what's it like to be known as the White Mamba? I think Reed hit the nail on the head. There are games that, selection committees and stuff like that can kind of give you a little leeway on, like, okay, well, that's a top 10 team. If they lose that one, we get it. But you got to win games like yesterday, and they did it. They took care of business, which, let's be honest, and over the last 15 years of Tennessee athletics, you can't take that for granted. So if a team takes care of business and does what they're supposed to do, then that's a good day. And so I thought Zakai, not many turnovers, which was good, but hit some major shots and big moments. It was a good team win. Santi played well. And of course, Dalton's just tearing it up. So let's see what some other folks are saying here in the comments, how they feel like the game went. Sandra Schruck said, hey guys, I just started watching the channel a few weeks ago and I love it. Hey, we appreciate that very much.
We're almost to double figures.
So we appreciate that so much. Welcome. We're glad you're with us.
Yes,
Eric,
yes.
Good to have you, Eric. He said, what's up, Vol Bros and Reed Carringer? So Reed, if you look over my right-hand shoulder, this magazine back there we go. That is Football Time in Tennessee magazine. Reed is one of the contributors to that, and he has covered the Vols essentially since he was in diapers. And so Reed is one of the best people to follow on Twitter, because Reed uses more common sense and logic in his posts than pretty much anybody else on Twitter. So it is fantastic to follow him. I would recommend him to anybody. Mayhem Matthew, what's up, Mayhem? How you doing, buddy? He said, what's up, guys? So Auburn's live show was soft as baby poo. I just asked them why his coach is resigning, and it seems like they're in shambles, and they couldn't answer me, so they timed me out. Well, I'm sorry that happened, buddy. So Mayhem is a Georgia YouTuber. So if anybody watching is Georgia fans, go check him out. He said, Vol Bros are always bringing the heat. Hey, we appreciate that very much. It's very kind. We appreciate that.
So Matthew, I can actually answer that question for you. I can't remember the exact reasons, but if you go to the Mac and Cube podcast and read it would be like last Tuesday or Wednesday. Just read the descriptions on each hour of their podcast. On one of them, they get into all the reasons behind what's happening behind closed doors at Auburn. And Cole Kublik had firsthand conversations with Hugh Freeze, with Cadillac. It's incredible detail. And honestly, I was a little surprised that they told him everything they told him. But the short version is it comes down to the two Auburn alums that have quit just could not. Too many differences of opinion with Hugh Freeze and with the guys he brought in, and it was creating all kinds of internal issues, and they all just kind of came to a mutual agreement that it was probably time to separate ways. But if you want to hear some crazy details, go watch that podcast or listen to that podcast. They get pretty in depth on what happened there.
And then Jared, welcome, Jared. Good to have you, buddy. He said Dalton Connect is legit. I totally agree. Is Josiah hurt or just slumping? What do y'all think? Reed, what do you think about that question there?
I don't think he's hurt. I think I know that he started out hot offensively and kind of carried this team in a lot of ways. Was super efficient the first part of the year, and now you're just seeing other guys get shots. Obviously, I'd like to see him make more of those threes and take some more of those open threes. I think that was one of the things you saw in the first half of that game and one of the things that I saw Rick Barnes say this year several times that I really like he said, you hurt your teams when you turn down open shots, and they did way too much of that against Vandy in the first half. Josiah was one of those. Santee was one of those. They really kind of rectified that in the second half. You talked about Zakai earlier too. He coming out of the gates in the second half, missed an open three, they've got an offensive rebound, kicked it back to him, and he took it and made it. And I thought that was huge just for the team as a whole, kind of a tone setter. So I want to see Triple J keep shooting. I thought he did a lot of good things defensively. It was kind of a liability at Georgia a couple weeks ago defensively. They took him out, put Meshack in. Thought he stepped up in this game defensively. Thought he did some good things. I don't think he's hurt. I just think sort of a regression to the mean, and then you're seeing Dalton Connect, who's the best offensive player in my lifetime to play for Tennessee, arguably. Allen Houston, pretty daggum good, but he's up there, right? And he's breaking his records right now.
Absolutely.
I think he's just getting a lot of those shots, and their offense is a little different than it was earlier in the year. So still want him to be aggressive, want Santee to be aggressive, like y'all talked about. Want Zakai to be aggressive, but I thought he played actually a pretty good game, even though the box score didn't show it for Josiah against Vandy. If you look at his stats, 28 minutes, 2 shots. Would like some more shots there, right? 4 rebounds.
Absolutely.
No fouls, defended well without fouling, like that. I know Rick Barnes pointed out after the game that he liked a lot of the things Josiah did in that game as well.
Sanders said we have to get Josiah going because he'll be big in the NCAA tournament. I totally agree. I was actually thinking the exact same thing during the game. They need him, just like Regis said, they need him to start hitting open shots. It's been a while. He's kind of going through, as far as the 3 ball, he's kind of going through what Jordan Gainey went through the last, month until last week. So hopefully Josiah shoots his way out of that really soon. Because if they have Josiah, Santee, Jordan Gainey, Zakai, and Dalton all hitting shots, look out, buddy. Look out.
They're not going to lose in that scenario, right?
No.
The way Tennessee gets beat, in my opinion, either they face an elite big or like a giant, kind of shot-altering big, or somebody can connect, has an off night, and then these other guys have to step up. The question is, can they do it? They've done it before. They were a, Sweet 16 team without him. Can they do it again? That's where you want those guys to keep shooting. And I think that's the message they're getting from the coaching staff. I think that's the message they're getting from their teammates. So need them to keep shooting. And Rustin, you're right. Gainey was huge in that game. Like 15 minutes, 10 points, I think. Yeah, 15 minutes, 10 points. Huge to see him back. All the points Tennessee got from their transfer guards there yesterday were big. But want those veterans to come through and keep shooting as well.
The most concerned I was in the whole game was with about, I want to say it was like 10 minutes left. We were up 5, and they took Dalton out to get a breather.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this moment in my chest. I was like, oh no, what are the next couple of minutes going to look like? And when he came back in, we were up 11. And those guys ran really good offense. Santi kind of took over for a few minutes. They were getting good shots. They were hitting them. It was fun to watch. And I sat there going, okay, we've turned a corner here. Like, we were just able to take the stud off the floor and actually play even better. And that was a big sign.
Yeah, anytime you can extend the lead without him on the court, that's good. Same thing happened, against Alabama. There was about a 4-minute stretch in the first half where he was off the court, and during that time, Edey hit 3, shots right at the rim. And so instead of having trips down the court where you're not scoring, they were consistently getting buckets, even with Dalton off the floor, and that is huge for March if that continues. Joshua made a really good point. Joshua said, "Hey, welcome, Joshua. Good to have you, buddy." He said, "We would average 100 points a game if Josiah and Santi were just average." Fortunately, Santi did have 10 or 12 yesterday.
12.
So
I thought he hit a couple big shots. Zakai did too. Gainey did too. Kind of run stoppers or lead extenders that were really big for Tennessee. And that's a sweated out type game if those guys don't hit those shots. Honestly,
Yeah,
even with all of DK's heroics.
The one off the baseline inbounds play where they ran their base box set to get Dalton a look. Vandy knew it was coming, and Dalton immediately swung it up to Santi with like 2 seconds left on the shot clock. And Santi, no hesitation, just catch and shoot, buried it from about 26, 27 feet.
That was deep. I remember that one.
That was amazing.
Yep. Like to see
That's
that.
when I kind of knew Tennessee was going to win that game. Really, that may have been that shot. Is all right. This game, if that's happening, and great play by Dalton too, not to just force one there. He seems to have a really good sense for not forcing the action and finding his teammates, and seems to fit what Rick Barnes wants to do on offense really well.
Yep.
That shot he made in the middle of the lane with dude in his face, that's not fair. Like that was not fair. Traveling Fools, welcome guys. I'm glad y'all are with us. It's nice to see y'all. Coming to us from Florida probably right now. So welcome. We're glad y'all are with us.
That must be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Dester, welcome back. Good to have you, buddy. He said, hopefully they get it together for tournament time. Defense playing great. The defense is playing great. Offensively, I mean, if they're averaging 75 to 90 points a game, that's, of course, Dalton's getting a third or more of those. But, I mean, that's pretty solid. That's pretty good.
Well, I think to Dester's point there, that's where we've seen Santi and Triple J, even though their shot hasn't been going down, you haven't really seen that fall off on the defensive side of the floor. They're still running the offense too, but I thought really the Bama game on, you can look at Santi's defense. It's been just very good. Meshack gets all the pub, rightfully so, the best on-ball defender I've seen at Tennessee, probably.
Yep.
But then you got Santi on someone else. I mean, it's just a smothering type of defense. And those guys are really, to their credit, they haven't let their offense affect their defense.
I think that's a great point. And, maybe the game that we've seen that most out of Santi is, I think it was Georgia, when they had to start pressing near the end of the game. And, Vescovy did not have many points that game. But, man, he caused about 2 or 3 different steals there and late in the game on that press to be able to get easy buckets. So that was huge. Let's see. Sandra said, I think he's going to be okay. Every player goes through a slump. You just have to keep working. Absolutely. Totally agree. You got to shoot your way out of it. I guarantee.
Well, he actually has to look to shoot, though. That was probably.
True.
I thought Josiah played really well defensively. I thought he communicated probably as well or better than anybody on the floor defensively. He made some switches and saw some screens coming that honestly I was like, I have no idea how he just saw that. But there's
even in transition a couple times, he made a couple like, hey, you get that guy. Yeah. To your point.
Yeah. He was directing traffic the whole game. But there was one decision he made that I was like, I don't know about that one. He ended up with the ball right under the basket, and all he had to do was go up and dunk it. And instead, he kicked it back to the free throw line to Jonas,
Coming down the
who,
middle of the lane.
luckily attacked the basket and got fouled, but he only made 1 out of 2. And Josiah passed up a wide open dunk to try and get Jonas a highlight reel. And it was like, let's just take the points that are staring us in the face. Like, why are we passing that ball?
I
that
thought the same thing.
decision concerned me a little bit and made me wonder what was going on with him. And who knows? I mean, he had the flu all of last week. He may still not feel 100%, but it was a weird decision. And he passed up a couple of wide open shots, and you can't shoot yourself out of it if you refuse to shoot.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's got to take the looks when he gets them.
Elijah said, Dalton Connect, National Player of the Year. Edey is such an unskilled player. Elijah, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. I think Edey's a pretty damn good player, but as far as versatility, I don't think there's any argument. Dalton is probably one of the most versatile scorers in the game right now.
But Zach Edey is probably the most skilled big man in America. I don't know that you'd find many NBA scouts that would disagree with that assessment. But
it's going to be hard to pry that award from his hands. Just personally, I think he's such a household name. He won it last year. He's kind of the horse in the barn, right? It's going to be hard for anybody to steal his momentum enough. And Connect's got a shot. It's going to kind of depend on, hey, what does Tennessee do at Kentucky? What does Tennessee do at Alabama? What does Tennessee do in those marquee games where the Vols end up in the SEC race? If he keeps on this road tear and the Vols end up winning the conference, maybe that gives him a better shot. I don't disagree with you that he should be in the running or, should be one of the odds-on favorites. But I just know how those guys vote and stuff. It's just going to be hard for them to not vote for Edey if they voted for him last year, in my opinion.
Yep. That's a good point. Joshua said, "Oh, great point here. Vescovy making those technical free throws was such a redemption moment from last year against Vandy." I think that's a great point. I think that's
very, very good callback, because I was nervous when he went to that line and I couldn't recall why, and then I remembered it after the game. What happened? Him blowing that, and then them coming down and draining that three in the corner last year. So good callback there, Joshua. The tough moment for Tennessee, and two, they call it out on the broadcast. They flipped. That was the right call. Hook and hold. I'm surprised they got that right, given how the officiating went in that game and my entire life. But he wasn't really ready to shoot that. He thought the foul was going to be on him, and they sort of like, oh, go shoot right now, and just mentally being able to focus, hey, free throw line, breathe, nail him. Big moment in that game for sure.
Totally agree. And, kudos to the officials for actually making the right call. And not only making the right call, they overturned their own call, because originally, like you said, it was on Santi, and then they switched it to which they should have. It was blatantly obvious, they switched it to the other guy. So, kudos to them for actually having enough humility to admit they were wrong in that situation.
Almost never see that. Yeah, almost never see that, right? They just that's one of the things I wish the league would change. When they'll go, like the foul on Zakai that they thought could have been a goaltend. They went to the table to watch the film. Zakai clearly didn't touch the guy with his body or his arms
or anything,
and it wasn't even close to a goaltend. So the
not
fact
a
that
goaltend.
they're taking the time out of the game to not even bother to get the call right is so stupid to me. They should be able, if they're going to go review it, you can review whatever you're looking at. They need to fix that rule, because that's just a waste of everyone's time and resources. What are you guys doing? I think that's got to get fixed. But to your point, Tennessee clutch just down the stretch. You had Gainey hit a big shot, Santi hit a big shot, Zakai hit a big shot. Edey being aggressive, kind of getting the ball around the free throw line a couple times and making some big plays. Just so much to like from that game for Tennessee, despite the rough start. Estrella gave Tennessee some great minutes. Kazawaki kept fouling. Thought that was big. His development has been nice for Tennessee. Some length, some rebounding in there, and he's been able to rebound and play without fouling, which has been huge for a team that tends to be in a free throw deficit every game. So, yeah, lots to like. I think given the circumstances in the game.
Michael and Jared have both asked really good questions. Michael on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Jared on Facebook. I starred those. I'm going to come back to those because those are really good questions. Elijah elaborated on his comment about Zach Edey. Said, I watched Purdue's game today and I counted at least 7 offensive fouls not called on Edey. He stayed in the lane for 10 seconds at least 3 times. Now, he does get away with that all the time. If he wasn't 7 foot, he would be averaging 10-5 a game. Well, that's part of his skill set, as he said.
But he is 7 foot, and in that game today, he had 26 and 12. So it's not like he's going to get away with this stuff because he's the best player on the court. It's like Michael Jordan.
Shaq was huge. I don't know. Like, those guys are hard to defend. It's been hard to referee. Sorry, it's been a thing forever. Like, how do you referee Shaq? It's hard to do, and I know he pretty much fouled out 3 of Tennessee's players when they played. I don't know how you defend that guy. You can't. You're not going to match up. Adu's potentially a first-team All-SEC big, and just got eaten up by him. And now he's a better player now than he was then, to his credit, to the coaching staff's credit. But Tennessee's got some bigs they can throw at him, and he ate them up. So I don't know. I get the hype. I guess I get it. And you don't see many big guys like that. Period. But you don't see many that will play that big, right? We've had a lot. We've had some 7-footers at Tennessee that played like they were 6'4" before. So I think to Edey's credit, he does play like he's 7'10". He plays maybe even bigger than he is.
Elijah also said the funniest part about that review of the technical that got overturned was that Vandy assistant was the one that wanted it reviewed. Yeah, that backfired for flagrant.
Sure. Yeah, that's the thing. So, I'm sure a lot of people here have played basketball watching this. You're taught to box out. You're never taught to. This is not a basketball motion. You don't do this with your arm ever. Like, you're not ever doing this motion. That's not a basketball play. And I think that's sort of an automatic thing where they fix the rules. When you see that motion from anyone, it's getting called, because you should be boxing out, not hooking. It's not a basketball play.
Yep. Sam said the technical foul on Barnes was BS.
Yes, it was.
I don't even know. Still don't know what it was called for. Like, Rick didn't say something that got him a tech. So what in the world? I still don't know what happened. But
the Rabbit Ears official on the opposite side of the floor was eavesdropping on his conversation with the ref standing right in front of him. Didn't like that Rick was questioning his call and teed him up from the other side of the court. It's like watching a bad high school crew. That's the kind of garbage high school refs do. And SEC refs shouldn't be listening to a conversation on the opposite side of the court.
Rick? I think Rick said something to your point, Rustin. And great point, like illustrating what actually happened there. It was not the official Barnes was talking to that called the tee. It was someone, 50 feet away that heard it and called it. And Rick said he's never, ever had that happen. And that guy's been coaching, I think, since the earth was made. Like, that guy's been coaching basketball since Naismith invented the game. That's not something that happens. I've seen it happen in high school ball, to Rustin's point, but that shouldn't happen. Like, it's SEC officiating consistently terrible, just across the board. I don't care who you root for. It's terrible. It is terrible. It detracts from the game. They got to fix it.
What was even worse was Barnes was talking to the official in front of him. That guy was just having a conversation. Rod Clark has to tell him he just got a technical called on him because he and the ref don't even know this idiot just called a technical over him.
That was the funniest part of the whole thing to me was Tennessee's bench realized the tech was called before Rick Barnes did.
And Clark was not happy about that situation.
No.
So I
So-
really did think we were going to see Barnes get tossed in that game. That's as hot as I've seen him after that, because there was that play where two Vandy defenders just ran through Santee when he drove to the lane, and they didn't call it. Big no call at that point in the game. I can't remember the exact score. And you saw Barnes just kind of lose it over there, which is it's not just a body foul. They ran through the guy. Two of them, and they didn't call it, and the ref standing right there. And I get that when you're protecting your players, which Barnes has, I think, done a lot better job of the last couple of years of working the officials. To his credit, old dogs learning new tricks. I think he's been working the officials more. That should have been called, and I thought he was going to get tossed for the first time in his career, Tennessee career at least.
Well, so you make a good point there, because I've never seen him be that demonstrative, showing up an official after a no call. He put both his hands straight up in the air like that. I mean, it was like very obvious. And then the fact that, he's up on that raised platform court above everybody else made it even more obvious, that's a very good point. So some other, Sam said Barnes question a call. Isn't that what coaches do? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great point, Sam. Good point. So let's go to our second question. Like I said, I've got 3 questions starred right now. Sandra said that Dalton is a huge pickup. No doubt about it. I got 3 questions starred. Joshua had one, Jared and Michael. We'll come back to those, but let's go to our second question of our show here. I'm using this one second because I think we'll probably all have the same answer, but the play of the game question will be fun. But our player of the game, Reed, you want to start?
Well, okay, I'll go curveball. I'll go Jordan
Hey, all
off
right.
the bench. I'll go curveball for y'all. I really think when he came to Tennessee and you saw him early in the year, just really providing a huge spark for Tennessee off the bench, being a lot better defender than I think I expected. Maybe everyone but his dad or Barnes expected. Kind of been a Zakai-like dog a couple times in games, getting after people, has helped spare Zakai so much ball handling responsibilities as well. It's kind of sort of been a backup ball handler at times when he's on the floor, at least. So I thought getting him back to being a contributor, I know Barnes called out that corner 3 when Vandy was in the 1-3-1 after the game as maybe the turning point in the game. So I'll leave transfer portal Larry Bird, the White Mamba, to y'all. But I'll go Jordan. I'll go Jordan Gainey with this stat line of 15 minutes, 4 shot attempts, 10 points, 1 assist, no fouls. That's if you get that off the bench, Tennessee's going to win a lot of games.
Yep.
Amen, brother. You go ahead, Rustin.
I think we really need to talk about the 2 quality minutes that Freddie DeLeon gave us.
Where he traveled and almost made a highlight reel throw off the trap.
Hey,
yeah, that travel was bad.
I didn't say who they were quality for, but they were impactful to the game. Yeah, I'll take transparent Larry or translucent Larry Bird. Anytime you go 13 of 21 for 32 points, and then in the post-game interview, take crap off Ron Slay for going 3 of 7 at the free throw line.
That was awesome, by the way.
Which was possibly one of the greatest interview questions ever. Man just dropped 32 in Vandy and Memorial Coliseum, and Slay's first question is about 3 of 7 at the free throw line.
Yeah.
I guarantee you Rick Barnes is going to find that clip, and he'll have it on repeat for the next week.
Hey, I'm sure he's roasting him. He probably made him shoot free throws when they got back to Knoxville.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say Dalton's my player of the game as well, and Ron Slay is the analyst of the game, because that was hilarious. And he's like, "Man, what's going on with the free throw line?"
I loved that Slay's comment there was, I used to kind of chart out my games beforehand of like how I'm going to get to my point total, and he was SEC Player of the Year. That guy was electric for some Tennessee teams that weren't very good, he was the
Yep.
electric basketball player, kind of before his time too. Big man bringing the ball up the floor sometimes. Really fun basketball player. If you haven't seen any of his clips, highly suggest you watch them.
Yep.
I'm sure they're on YouTube. But yeah, Roaston, Dalton, and Tennessee at one point in that game was 40% from the free throw line. And I thought,
Yeah.
how? I mean, this is how you lose a road game. The margin is so small in this league, even against a team like Vanderbilt. But yeah, I think he was 10th in the SEC, I think, before that in free throw percentage. So
Yeah.
I think it was more of an anomaly for transfer portal bird.
Well, now let's get to our fun question, because I think there's a few different answers we could give for this. If you had to pick a play of the game, and y'all let us know in the comments too, who what your play of the game was. But if you had to pick a play of the game, what would it be? Reed, you start.
Okay, I'm going to go a weird one. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think Tennessee in that first half did a terrible job of taking open shots. Really affected their offense. We've seen it get in their head before. That's been their weakness, especially on the road. Oh, we're turning down open shots. We miss a few. We pump fake pass, turn down an open shot for contested look, and it just snowballs, and they end up losing. So I really think that it was right out of the gate in the second half when Zakai took a three, missed it. Can't remember who got the offensive rebound, kicked it back to him in a different spot, and he took it. It was open and nailed it. I really think that aggressiveness there set the tone for the second half of, hey, that first half is behind us. That team that we were last year, the year before that team's gone. We're this team, and we're going to take these looks right now. So that was, I thought, a tone-setting play for the second half that really did, looking back on the game, chart the course for what we saw.
I love that choice. That's a great choice. Rustin, what was your play of the game?
I have a tie. One because I'm a former basketball coach, and one because it was just a fantastic individual effort. Against the 1-3-1, Reed mentioned it a second ago, got a couple of quick ball swings, then hit Jordan Gainey in the corner before they could rotate. Gainey knocks down the three. It's just good basketball. It's exactly how you teach people to break down the 1-3-1, and they execute it perfectly. But the second one, and probably if I had to pick one play, it would be this one. Zakai saw the trap coming in the 1-3-1. It was late. Game was over. It was about 2.5 minutes left. He sees the trap coming and splits it, attacks the middle of the lane, and throws a perfect lob to Jonas on the backside for a dunk. And it was the exclamation point, because it was like you all thought you could run and jump on the small point guard, and he split the trap like they were nowhere, and then attacks it and finishes it with the big man. It was just it's exactly the way you draw it up, and it was just beautiful to watch.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because I had three. Sorry, I'm breaking the rules here.
It's your show.
Exactly right. I mean, like, we get to pick what we do, right? And so
That's right.
The two that were my runner-ups, Rustin, the play you just mentioned was one of them. The alley-oop to Jonas was just, I think somebody tweeted, exclamation point. And I thought, man, that's a great point. No pun intended. So I thought, that was excellent. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful play. That was number 3 for me. Number 2 was, and it may have actually been the 3 y'all were just talking about, but Jordan Gainey hit a 3 in the second half. There was probably about 8 minutes, maybe 7, just under 8 minutes left in the second half. And it was the first time Tennessee went up by 10. And when he hit that shot and they went up by 10 for the first time, it was just, you could feel like a sense of, okay, like a little bit of breathing room. And they never really looked back from that moment. So that was a huge play in my opinion. But my play of the game was essentially 2 plays in one. Oh man, so I guess I had 4.
Now you're pushing it.
Yeah.
There's got to be some rules.
Yeah, exactly. Jonas Edey awesome block on one end. Tennessee gets a run out fast break. They kick it up to Dalton, and he goes up and adjusts midair and lays it in. After going up for what looked like it was going to be a dunk, Duke came in front of him. He adjusted around him and laid it in. So you had this awesome block on one end of the court, which led to a beautiful layup on the other end of the court. That was pretty. So that was my play of the game.
That was almost mine, Evan, because that was a great defensive play. And then Dalton, when he gets that ball, he's not giving it up. Like that guy's not, which he shouldn't. I'm not knocking him. He kept the ball high, keeps it away from his body, and then brings it in late. Usually gets fouled. Usually makes it to that guy, and he's out. That's okay. Here's the one critique I'll have of Dog Connect. I want to see that burst we see on the fast break when he's got the ball in his hands on defense. I want to see that a couple times.
Well, you got to conserve energy somewhere.
That's right. That's true. That's fair. But
yeah, I'm sure that's what Rick Barnes is telling him.
He's got like it's like I don't know if you all ever played Mario Kart, but my daughter is big into it right now. So it's like you get the mushroom. He's got that mushroom boost on the floor where he just on fast break, but I never see it the other way. So I want to see that on the defensive side a couple times.
Reed, I coached the all-time high school leading scorer in Chattanooga history. He's still the all-time leading scorer.
Wow.
Over 3,000 points in high school. But he didn't guard a soul. And so and we played straight man. So like it was kind of comical because we would always look at the other team's roster and go, who's the worst player out there? It didn't matter what position they played. Whoever the worst player was, that's who he was guarding. And like everybody knew it. There was like, hey, he's not going to guard a soul because he doesn't go hard on defense because he saves everything for offense. So, but he scored over 3,000 points. So you just kind of go, all right, conserve for offense.
Know your strengths.
Yep.
Right. Know your strengths.
Eric said he agrees that block and good lay-in by Dalton on the other end was his play of the game. Zach, welcome, Zach. Good to have you, buddy. He said play of the game was a dunk by Edey. Zach, what in the world? Zach, he said I had to meet. Sorry, I'm late. I had to meet with somebody about my short story. That's what I'm talking about.
Is it the story of how you died?
Hopefully that's a long story, Zach.
Let's see. Eric said, I agree with Reed. That was a good play in the beginning of the second half was the Kai's threes. Absolutely. Let's see. Sam said something about South Carolina, so we'll talk about that one in a second. Eric said his Dalton, player of the game was Dalton. Let's see. So I'm going to go back to those. Wait a minute. I think we have an update on the 49ers game.
Yeah.
Reed, do you know what's happening?
It's Niners are up 3, under a minute left. Detroit's got to go for an onside kick to try to win the game, or to try to get the ball back to kick a field goal or touchdown to. So
hey, that's what I'm talking about. This one tonight for Tennessee fans is easier because if 49ers win, you got Juwan in the Super Bowl. If the Lions win, you've got like half the other teams of Tennessee's players on the
Hooker, Jalen Reeves, Maben, Cam Sutton. Yeah. Yep. It's been hard for me to celebrate Cam Sutton getting torched this game. But oh no. Okay. Sorry.
I'm guessing the Niners got it, huh?
I was watching that bounce. I was like, oh, that's not good.
You never want to see the onside kick bounce. That's not into the open field. That's like that was a good kick. That was the biggest blown halftime lead in championship game history.
Ooh, man.
You're assuming Jared Goff can take a knee properly. This thing's not over. Did you hear Tony Romo in game 1 when the Chiefs scored or something? No, the Chiefs completed a pass. And Romo goes, well, that's the game. And then he realizes, oh, wait, I'm a commentary. He goes, well, there's still a chance.
Yeah. He's like, you can't say that. We got to not leave our audience. They're going to call him for illegal touching right here. But, yeah, they're going to – Romo – I like Romo a lot, but he will kind of let his almost like Peyton and Eli. Like
Yeah.
he'd be too honest sometimes.
Yeah.
I would love Peyton and Eli for the NFL playoffs.
Oh, I want a Super Bowl Manning cast. That would be priceless.
It would be unreal to me.
I'm excited for the college football Manning cast next year. That's going to be awesome with Tennessee and Florida.
Tennessee game.
That'll be good. So I'm going to go back to a couple of the questions that we had come through because they're very interesting questions. Michael on X asked, what do you think about Gainey starting instead of Josiah? So I've got thoughts here, but I'll let y'all go first. Reed, you want to start?
If I start anyone over Josiah, it's going to be Meshack. I think Tennessee's best lineups are with Meshack on the floor. I haven't deep dived the analytics here to see really if that plays out. I just know when Tennessee goes on runs, he's on the floor. Just watching the game, got a feel for that. So if I'm starting anyone over him, it's Meshack for me. I like Gainey scoring off the bench. I really do, because if you look at who they're bringing off the bench right now, Awaka has a lot of offensive potential, has not realized it at Tennessee. DeLeon, I think you're going to see be a scorer down the line, but Gainey's the only one you can count on off the bench right now for points. Meshack can score off rebounds, slashing through the lane, fast break, hit some threes every now and then, but he's the scorer off the bench, and you like that guy, I think, as to have that option, personally.
Jordan Bowden 2.0.
That's a good comparison.
What's your answer to this, Rustin?
I love Gainey off the bench for all the same reasons Reed just says. You've got to have somebody coming off the bench that, I mean, for no other reason that when Dalton comes out, you've still got a scoring threat out there. I think the other thing, like I said earlier, in the second half especially, it was really visible. Josiah does so many things defensively and communication-wise that are hard to replace.
That was my answer.
He was directing traffic all over the place in the second half, and it's hard to find guys that communicate that well. I mean, it's just not in college basketball. It's even though coaches rep it like crazy, when you get in the fray, communication's the first thing that leaves. And Josiah talks the whole time. It's impressive.
Yeah, it would create, potential defensive matchup issues if Jordan were playing at the start of the game instead of Josiah, because Josiah's guarding the other team's four man. And so you got Jonas on the 5, Josiah on the 4, and Dalton on the 3. So
right.
If you bring Josiah out, all of a sudden our lineup just got much smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Just defensively. And I mean, he played 28 minutes yesterday. I think he's not going anywhere in the starting lineup. I don't think he should. Does a lot of things well, and doesn't hurt you also, which
that's a good point.
I like. But to your point, I really did think he did a lot of really good things in that second half of that game, as far as directing traffic, air traffic controller, like you said, Russ, and as far as Josiah. And I think Gainey kind of likes that role of, hey, I'm coming off the bench. I'm going to give you 10, 15 minutes, and I'm going to put some shots up. I think he likes that role, and maybe we see him transition to a different role next year. But for now, the identity of this team, the versatility of Triple J there, also kind of switching screens and everything, rebounding for a small lineup, just really big.
It gives you some defensive versatility too. We just said Dalton's not the greatest defender on the face of the earth. So, if the other team's 4, but he is 6'6" and long. So, if the other team's 4-man isn't very good, they can put Josiah on the 3 and he'll be just fine. And Dalton can take the 4. So he gives them the ability to tweak the lineup to where Dalton's always able to guard the worst player on the court. And, whereas when Jordan Gainey's out there, he can't guard anybody but the 1 or the 2. Like he's just too small. So, Josiah gives you a lot of flexibility.
Jared asked, do you think Awaka is in Barnes' doghouse? He played 5 minutes against Bama, 6 minutes against Vandy.
No, he's in the penalty box because he can't stop fouling people. Like it's not a doghouse. He's sitting over on the bench going, "How do I stop fouling?"
Yep.
That's the thing. My one disappointment this year, I think, of this team, and I hate to call him out, but I thought you were going to see the jump we saw from Ziegler from his freshman year to year 2. I thought Awaka had a chance to make this year. I really did, and not just because it's not an undersized thing or anything. It's just he's an elite rebounder. He does something elite, like Ziegler was an elite defender and assist man. And I think you see he'll go through stretches. Like was it Georgia? He scored 6 straight points for Tennessee. You see the flashes, and you're cutting down the lane, put the ball on the floor, cut down the lane, finished around the rim. He's got a good shooting touch. You see all the tools there, and I think maybe it's a rhythm thing. To your point of him just being in the penalty box is a great analogy because he's not been able to stay on the floor. If he could stay on the floor and not foul, I think you would see him really contribute more offensively to the team because the skill's there for him. And I thought he had a chance to be like a 7-5, 10-7 or 8 kind of guy playing more minutes for Tennessee this year.
So I love Joshua's question because this leads into our next week here for Tennessee basketball. He said, with South Carolina's win over Kentucky, do you think there'll be a top 25 matchup? Yes, 100%. I will be absolutely shocked if South Carolina is not ranked in the top 25 tomorrow. They are currently 17-3. If they're not ranked, something's bad wrong. I mean, I'm just being honest. They're very good. And do you think it'll be hard with Kentucky coming up after? Tennessee's they have a tough week this week because they're playing a very good South Carolina team, and they get to try to match up against that 7'17" dude from Kentucky who can shoot. So have fun with that.
7-foot Luka up there. Yeah,
exactly.
Weird. He hasn't scored in their last 2 games. Like
he has
been
crazy opening game.
Yeah, he goes for 13 in like 5 minutes in the opener and then hasn't scored since. It's been weird.
The good things typically don't happen for Tennessee and Rupp.
You're
got to get
5
that.
on 8.
You got to get that win against South Carolina. You do. You just, if you want to win the league, Auburn going 0-2 this week. Big cheers for that. Pretty good for Tennessee's chances in the SEC, but
yes,
Alabama's right there. You got the tiebreaker over Bama now, but you finished the year at Bama, so that's probably going to be a wash. I think they've won their last 12 or 13 at home in the conference. So Tennessee's in a good spot right now as far as the league play goes. Schedule's going to be tough this week, and then the last 3 or 4 games is really tough for the Vols. If you look, they've got. I'll pull it up right here. They finish last 3 games at Alabama, at South Carolina, Kentucky at home, Kentucky at Knoxville. So that's the last 3, and the one before that. So if you go last 4, you host Auburn. Auburn, at Alabama, at South Carolina, host Kentucky.
That's
really
tough
4-game stretch. You go 2-2. Maybe you have to go 3-1 to win the league. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough way to end the year right there.
Alabama's road isn't much easier though. They've still got to play Mississippi State. They've still got to go to Auburn. They've still got to go to Kentucky. They've still got to go to Ole Miss. They got to go to Florida. Like there's some potential losses in there.
I think a lot of these teams are just going to get beat up on the road. And then the question for Tennessee is, can they not be that team? You saw them lay an egg that first part of that Mississippi State game, and then came back and really almost stole it at a tough place to play. That's a good team with Smith back in the paint, and then up big at Georgia, blew it, came back, just took the game away, and then same thing at Vandy. Kind of slow start, and then got control. So they've been roller coaster on the road.
Yep.
Sam speaking about that game Tuesday night against South Carolina, he said the inside guy for South Carolina is a real deal. He's not the tallest, but he won't be pushed around. We're going to need all our inside guys. That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the other comments that came in.
That's BJ Mack. The one thing I will say about him, he's not very long. And so he's going to try to bully Awaka. He's going to try to bully Adu. He's probably going to try and jump into him some, so he can get some fouls called. So it's going to be real important that Adu just stay really, really tall and just make him shoot over the top of him. Who knows? Maybe some bad SEC ref will call a couple of offensive fouls. That's always an option. But he's definitely, he's not going to be able to beat Jonas. He's going to have to try to bully him.
So Zach said, reference kind of what Rustin was talking about, that Josiah needs to look for a shot more. Sam said, Awaka didn't look like he was fouling as much, as the ref seemed to have a hair trigger for the visiting team.
I think my
issue, part of it.
Yeah, I think my issue with Tobey is the fouls he is picking up. For every one that's legitimate, there's another one that's just a really bad decision. Like, he has gotten so many over the back calls in the last 2 to 3 weeks where he's just not, he's fighting, which is great. It's good to see him be aggressive, but he's not fighting for position. He's just trying to go over people. And you've got to move your feet.
So that's the rebounding fouls are big for him, but also, like, there was one of the fouls against Vandy. He's defending down the lane, and you saw him. He's in position with his body. He doesn't hip check the guy, and he's moving his feet because he's pretty quick for his size. And he ends up going straight up, but right before that, he kind of poked in.
Yep.
And if you don't correct, just go straight up. You're already in position. You did so much right there. I think he had a switch on a guard. Tried to drive on him. He was in position, went straight up. But before that, you can't lower that arm, or they're going to call it every time. Edu's gotten a lot better at not doing that. All the fouls for him, they don't come from an ability standpoint at all. It's not like he's getting outclassed or outworked. It's just hey, get your head on straight. What are you doing? Because he was in position on that play.
Yeah.
I love Zach's perspective on things. He said, Zach said, doesn't matter. We're eating chicken on Tuesday and Wildcats on the weekend. I love it, Zach. That's great, man.
Well, if Tennessee goes 2-0 this week, pretty daggum good shot to win the conference.
Yep.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Sam said the Kentucky guys don't like contact. Biggest thing for us to deal with is the referees. Sam also said South Carolina. This is a really good point here. He said South Carolina is going to play full out looking for that quad one win. No doubt. They got one with Kentucky, but this would be a huge win for them. That for sure. Sandra said it'd be a huge win if we win at Kentucky. Yep. Let's see.
I'm going to predict that game's going to be decided by Santi and Josiah. I think our best two, Dalton and Jonas, are going to basically cancel out their best two, and it's going to come down to the other three starters. Whichever group plays better is who's going to win that game.
I think that's fair.
Need those guys to fire some shots.
Absolutely. Yep. So here's what we're going to do now. We've talked about basketball, and we didn't mention the Lady Vols yet. The Lady Vols did play today. Unfortunately, lost that game against Ole Miss today. But I've asked Reed to do something for us. Reed, Rustin and I actually learned a very valuable lesson Thursday night as we were live streaming. YouTube does not like it if I show clips of college football games while we live stream.
That's true.
As we were live streaming, I had each clip queued up because I was doing my top 5 plays. Rustin was giving his top 5 performances of the football season. And so I'd say this play and I'd show it. And apparently YouTube was like, nope. And they just stopped our live stream, ended it. So having, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So having learned from our error on Thursday night, I'm not going to show the clips as you count down your top 5. But what I am going to do, I'm going to try to turn this into like a short and a reel for tomorrow or Tuesday, and I'll just show like a photo, just one photo of the play you're describing,
Okay.
and hopefully YouTube won't mind just one photo. that's the hope. But what I've asked Reed to do is, if you were with us on Thursday night, then you saw, I gave them top 5 plays that I felt like were the top 5 for the 2023 football season. And Rustin gave his top 5 performances, individual team performances. So I asked Reed if he would give us his top 5 plays of the 2025 football season. And I think he has 5 excellent. I mean, what did I just say? 2025?
Yeah.
Reed, I need you to be a prophet.
All right. Let me put
I
my
need you
hat
to
on.
predict the
Where'd it go?
future. That would be Nico's last year at Tennessee, 2025.
A lot of Nico to Mike Matthews highlight reel stuff.
There you go. So Reed, can you start at number 5 and count down? Up. Absolutely.
Okay. So 5 for me, and you'll see a theme here, which I'll explain at the end, I think. But number 5 for me could have gone a lot differently, but it was Milton to Castles right before the half at Alabama. As kind of the clock was winding down. Great play, great drive, put Tennessee up 20-7 going into the half, and me thinking, do I need to go look for a cigar? Because I thought Tennessee had a shot there, and they did. I mean, they had a chance to really control that game at that point. Anytime you can go up 2 scores, you're in control. I just don't ask the Lions about that. But I thought that was a big play in that game, and could have been kind of a trajectory turning point of the season. Number 4 for me was Squirrel White, 50-yard bomb versus USC, ridiculous catch. I was at that game. I did not think he caught that ball. I didn't think there was any way he caught that ball. I could not believe it when they ruled that a catch, and it was a catch very clearly. And if you look at that play, if my memory is right, Tennessee is trailing at that point in the game.
You're right.
And that basically set up a score for Tennessee to give them the lead in a game against the team that ruined your season last year. So I thought that was a huge play just as far as momentum and putting Tennessee back in the lead in a game that had been sort of ugly and disjointed at that point. So that was a big one. Number 3 for me is, and maybe you'll see the theme here, Joe Milton. So setting the stage, minute 49 left to play at Kentucky on the road, a game you've got to win. Tennessee does not lose to Kentucky in football. It was 3rd and 7. I think the ball was at the 37-yard line. So you're not feeling great about kicking a field goal there with Tennessee up 6 or whatever it was. So you really can't put it out of reach with your kicking game at that point. 3rd and 7, Milton scrambles for 11 yards, stayed inbounds. That ended up that first down and the decision to stay inbounds ended up really icing the game for Tennessee. And at that point, I knew they were going to win. So that was a game sealer on the road. Tennessee road SEC win, big win and a big play by Joe. So not the highlight reel stuff maybe you'd expect, but that was a game winner. Number 2,
and a vitally important play for the scope of the season.
Yeah, correct. You don't want to give the ball back to Kentucky. Right there for sure. Number 2 was Kamal Hadden, pick 6 versus South Carolina, headed towards me in the corner of the south end zone there. And that put Tennessee up 2 scores, if my memory's right. And that's when you knew, all right, this game, Vols are winning this game. That was sort of the point. That the roof about blew off Neal, and if it had a roof, it would have collapsed. That was an electric play. And I just thought it wasn't a game icer, but it really kind of felt like, all right, Vols are in control. They're going to take care of business. And they did. And then number 1 for me had to be the D. Williams punt return touchdown versus Texas A&M. Another one of those that, hey, what did this do? It gave Tennessee the lead in the game in the second half. I think Tennessee's only come from behind halftime the win at this point. And just an electric play. After he downed it at the 1 as well, previously to set up the play, an electric play gave Tennessee the lead, and then the Vols really didn't look back there and got a big win against Texas A&M. So all those really, I think, were plays that either iced the game or gave Tennessee a commanding lead in a game or gave Tennessee the lead in a game they won. The exception being that 2 touchdown lead on the road at Bama where you thought the Vols had a good shot. Another one, it didn't go well, but I thought was a huge play potentially for Tennessee. But honorable mention there was Milton Baum to Thornton in Missouri. Vols were the second quarter. They hadn't scored yet, and that gave them the lead at Missouri. Now Thornton tore his leg off, but made a ridiculous catch to give Tennessee the lead. And at that point, you thought, okay, all right, Vols, let's get our stuff together. Let's get rolling. I thought that was a huge play too. So I kind of went for the plays that were the game winners or the huge momentum turns for Tennessee.
Well, you make a really good point about that Dante Thornton catch, because not only did he just his leg get obliterated, but he made the catch. Like, that was what was so incredible. That was, as far as just individual, efforts or plays in a game, that the only catch better than that probably you could say all year was Squirrel White's catch.
That goes down. If Tennessee somehow wins that game, that kind of goes into the Jennings Hail Mary at Georgia sort of lore of, man, he caught that ball. If you watched it live, they said incomplete immediately. The announcers didn't think he had any chance to catch that ball. So unfortunately, his last play of the year, but that was some catch.
Amen. It was a heck of a catch. So Rustin and I were at that South Carolina game too. And when they said Squirrel caught it, all of us standing there looking at it, we went, wait, he caught it? None of us thought he caught the ball. Just absolutely incredible.
I still don't know how he caught that ball.
I don't either. Dude was pushing him in the face. His head was back like this, bounces off his shin on his leg, and somehow he catches it. It was absolutely incredible.
And he knew immediately he caught it too. He knew that was a catch. There's no question about it. And kudos to the official for actually getting that one right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that Tony Vitello was right there on the sideline next to where he caught it, and he's going, crazy, and he's so excited. It was really cool.
That was, two plays from the same game there for me. But that's another one you had to win that game. You can't lose them 2 years in a row for sure. But you can't lose it in the home, period.
So it was really interesting. One other thing you mentioned about that game was Kamal's pick six. So where we were sitting, there was a group of, we were on the west sideline, up under the overhang. Okay, and there was a group of South Carolina fans in the section right next to us. And they were really enjoying themselves in the first quarter. They're up 10-7, stuff like that. They were really letting people around them know that they were winning at the time. And then, Tennessee goes ahead after that play with the Squirrel getting that far down the field. And so we're up. And then Kamal intercepts that ball, takes it back to the house. They did not say another word the rest of the game. They were silent the rest of the game. It was
hit him with the prime. Hit him with the prime there in the end zone, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bobby said,
I lost my mind at those two times.
I bet, absolutely. that Dirty Bird dance route was right in front of you then.
That was
if
fun.
you were in that corner, that's awesome.
That and D. Williams coming at us. That was a fun year for that end zone, for the rowdy side of the stadium.
So Bobby said we should move to Spaces because Twitter or YouTube was not letting us show that clip. So that was interesting. Elon apparently didn't care because we were live streaming on, just like we are right now, on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And Twitter just kept rolling, buddy. It was like, yeah, show it. We don't care. But YouTube, they were like, no, you can't do that. Let's see. Let's see. Good. GBOVFL 044 said, pray for Big Vol Daddy. We will. I don't know what's going on there, but sure we will. So I'm going to surprise y'all. We're going to end our show with one last thing. I told neither of you what I'm about to ask you.
Awesome.
I feel very prepared.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm sure that you all saw the whole deal with BYU student section showing up with the horns down on their shirts, and they were asked to change shirts. Okay.
Did you see their head coach apologize to Texas afterwards and say
I
the
did not
students
see
were in
that.
the wrong?
Holy stinking moly. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question here, and if you two gentlemen know the answer, I would love to find out why I'm so ignorant about this. What in the world is the deal with being so offended by the horns down sign? I mean, if they think it's bad now, wait until next year when you're in, coming to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or wherever else you want to go. And I mean, what am I missing something? Like, what is such a big deal about doing the horns down? Please explain my ignorance, because I don't get it. Like, why? It's like somebody's like mocking their mom and their sister and their dog all at the same time. I mean, like, what's going on, man?
I think, if something bothers you, PR 101 is don't let it show. And they are feeding the frenzy by making this a thing, which is the last thing you want to do. I don't understand it. And it's been a thing. There's a picture of big old Euros in Tennessee when they beat Texas here, throwing the horns down on the center court. It's a thing. It's not going anywhere. And in fact, you making it an even bigger thing is going to make sure it doesn't go anywhere.
Amen.
I don't get it.
They're feeding the fire, man. That's all I can figure.
Yeah, stoking the fire.
Well, I love that the SEC has already said that there will be no penalty. Like, they're just preparing them for it. They're like, hey, you might be in a soft conference now that has your big concerns at heart, but we don't. So there's not going to be any penalty if anybody does it. You better just get ready. So I just looked it up. Do you know when that started?
The horns down sign?
1963.
Oh, so it's a new invention.
Texas Tech fans did it at a game in 1963, and it took hold. So this has been going on for over 50 years. And now all of a sudden they have an issue with it.
Well, I've just been shocked at, like, for example, the reaction of their head coach at the UCF game in basketball when UCF beat them and started doing horns down, and they're going through the handshake line after the game, and their coach is like beside himself talking to UCF's coach, like, do you see what your players doing? Why are they doing that? Because I'm like, are you kidding me, man? Like, they're just doing a horns down sign. That's it.
I can't wait till we beat them next year and Rick Barnes does it and throws it down.
Put the sunglasses on, horns down.
That would be next level epic.
I think
there's no love lost there.
No, there's not. If that's the stuff you're worried about as a head coach, you're not going to make it. Just big picture. Like, you got too much other stuff on your plate you should be worried about.
But I couldn't believe post-game BYU's coach making a public apology in front of all the media and saying that those students were in the wrong for wearing the shirt. And it's like,
yeah, that's crazy.
Are you serious?
Is he lobbying for the Texas job after? Like, what? I don't understand his motivation there, I guess, is my.
Well, the best part was two of his players were sitting there on the press row next to him. And when he said it, they both kind of went. What?
Houston plays Texas tomorrow, so Texas will be in for a fist fight.
Yeah, and a whole lot of horns down, because Houston will not relent.
They're not going to care
because like y'all just said, all they're doing is just making people want to do it more to them. I mean, that's all they're doing.
It makes me want to do it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Zach has already got the emojis ready of how we can all do horns down in emojis.
Like
That's well played,
good
Zach.
It's a good one.
If it wasn't a copyright infringement, I would have already said, make the shirt. Let's make the Photoshop shirt of Rick Barnes throwing down the horns.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh,
Last question. GBO VFL said, I can't wait to watch Connect in NBA. Is he good enough to be Rookie of the Year? It's a different game for sure in the NBA, but he does.
The way they're playing defense right now, yes, he could score 60 a night and they won't stop anyone.
It is funny when you think about his game, and I'm excited too. I mean, that's kind of my parting point for everyone is if you can get to a game this year to watch him play, do it. Because these guys don't come around very often. I'm 36 years old, been going to games since I could walk, and he's the best offensive player in college that I've seen. And wear the orange and white. Previously, the best one I've seen come to Tennessee to play was Kevin Durant, then coached by Rick Barnes. And you don't see those players very often. And I know that he was talking about modeling his game after Kevin Durant. You can see it. He beats you with his length and his he doesn't look fast, but he is.
Yeah.
He's not as tall. He's not as lanky. He's not as gifted offensively as Durant. That's one of the top 5 scorers in NBA history. But that the aspects of that game, his game are there. So I think he's got a great shot to have a fantastic NBA career. You know, you've seen Tobias Harris, who came here, have a really good long NBA career, being a versatile player.
Yeah.
I think you could see Connect going and be a versatile scorer for a team. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Enjoy it while you have him here, and enjoy it when he goes to the pros. It's history. What we're seeing, it's fun. If you're not having fun,
Absolutely,
you're doing it wrong.
He reminds me a lot of Gordon Hayward. I could see him getting 14, 15 a night in the NBA, just playing in space.
Sam had the comment of the night. He said, "Can you imagine anybody apologizing for doing the Gator chomp to Florida?"
I would have loved to have seen someon tell Grant or Admiral that they need to apologize.
Yeah,
that would have gone over well.
Pipe down, boys. Yeah, right.
Well, Reed, we can't thank you enough, man. You are the man, always being so gracious with your time, especially tonight while your Niners are playing. Man, you are awesome. And so
winning.
That's right. They won, right? They finished it out, right?
But now we have 2 more weeks of nightly Taylor Swift updates.
And Brock Purdy sucks updates. Purdy hate and Swift updates. That's what we get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Reed, thank you so much, man. We really do appreciate you, and we appreciate your insight and all that you bring to the show.
Well, thanks, guys. I always enjoy chatting with y'all.
And we hope everybody joins us. So normally it's Thursday and Sunday, but I've got my biggest gig of the year for E. Pierce Media, my side gig. I've got my biggest gig of the year this upcoming week. So I'll be working from about 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day for about 4 or 5 days. So
Thursday night, we're going live at midnight.
Yeah. So we'll actually be taking a Thursday and Sunday off these next 2, because I'll literally be behind a camera doing event photography. So Thursday, whatever that next Thursday is, February the 8th, that'll be the next time we're live. So hope everybody can join us then. Reed, thank you. Hey, Bobby said Reed rocks. I totally agree. He sure does. Absolutely. So Reed, we thank you, man. And we hope everybody has a great evening, and go Vols, baby.